Hi, everyone. Hope you've been having a wonderfully creative week. I'm Rod Jones, and we celebrate what people love to do creatively by giving them a voice so you can learn and be motivated from their life's experiences.
And I'm Angie Jones. Welcome to Thought Road Podcast. We invite you to subscribe on Amazon Music or wherever you listen. And we focus on sharing with everyone how they can think, be, and live more creatively.
Okay, Angie, how about telling our listeners a little something about our guest today?
Sure. Today we are going to be speaking with Dr. Craig Curtis, an expert in helping all of us stay healthier with good nutrition and practical advice.
You know, you and I have discussed this before, but if there's one thing that we've all learned for sure is all people, especially creative people, need to stay healthy. And we all need to reduce stress and anxiety.
Well, that's for sure.
I hope this show helps us and everyone.
I think so.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how you come up with a quote for this episode. Good luck.
Well, actually, I found a really great quote. I think everyone's going to really enjoy it because it's coming from a person that you would really not expect to make this quote. So here it is. I'm concentrating on staying healthy, having peace, being happy, remembering what is important, taking in nature and animals, spending time reading, trying to understand the universe where science and the spiritual meet. And this quote is by Joan Jett.
Well, you're right about something.
Huh.
Joan Jett, the Joe Jett, I Love Rock and Roll.
That's it.
Well, you know what? I have to kind of admit that this is a quote from what probably most people, myself included, would consider to be a very unlikely source. But good call on this one, Angie. This is a good quote.
Hey, I'm glad you really liked it. And, I thought it was a pretty cool quote. So, but I was surprised because she is such a total rocker, and I didn't feel like, she would make a comment like that. But it does make sense. You need a lot of energy to do your rock and roll and perform on stage like that.
Being creative.
Absolutely. But I think she might appreciate this episode because today our guest is going to give us some tips on how we can all stay healthier, which is something that she looks like she's very interested in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So let's bring in our guest, Dr. Craig. Hello, Dr. Curtis. We're excited to chat with you on how creative people can stay healthy.
Yes,
Like
hi.
We all need to do that.
Hi, Dr. Curtis. It's very difficult to be creative and productive if you are not feeling well and lack energy.
That is so true. How are you guys today?
We're well. Thank you so much.
We're well to some of the advice that you've given us.
Yeah,
it certainly
absolutely.
has helped us out.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you, is it okay if we call you Craig throughout the interview?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Okay, good. So before we get into learning about how we all should keep ourselves healthy, why don't you tell everyone where you're originally from and where you're living now?
Well, originally I'm from a small town of about 500 people in Utah, and I'm living now in the Phoenix metropolitan area, outside the Phoenix metropolitan area in a town called Maricopa.
Okay. Phoenix is so nice. It's always beautiful there, all during the bad times of the year in the other parts of the United States. So it's kind of neat that you are always in the sunshine and with the beautiful dry climate.
I'm curious, when you were growing up in that small town, and I myself have, do you have a favorite childhood memory?
Oh, favorite childhood memory. Well, I have so many because it was obviously a very different time, different place. What I remember most about it was that it was safe and peaceful. Children could run all over town day and night. There was no danger. it was just a really, really peaceful existence.
Gosh, it sounds so idyllic, isn't it? Like that's how you want everyone to grow up, really. That's wonderful.
I was fortunate enough to grow up that way myself, but stuff certainly has changed.
It has changed a little bit. Well, let's move into current times. And so how did you get into what you were doing, and how did you get so much understanding about health and nutrition, Craig?
Oh, well, it goes way back, farther back than I'm going to admit. But even before I went to school, I was interested in health. When people would ask me when I was a kid, what are you going to do when you grow up? I always said, I'm going to be a doctor. As I approached the time to do that, I started questioning that decision because I just saw there were things about conventional medicine that did not appeal to me. Mm-hmm. I started being drawn more to the natural realm. And so I began researching that and doing a lot of reading and studying. And so I decided to go to chiropractic college. Mm-hmm. And I don't regret that because it has been a good vehicle to allow me to practice integrative medicine and continue with the research that I've done all through the years in that realm.
Well, you certainly have a strong background in that area, and we're going to talk more about health and nutrition. But I'm curious, on your path to understanding the human body and the things that people should do to stay healthy, I was wondering, did that start with you having any of your own health issues?
Well, yes and no. I did have certain health issues, not serious, extreme health issues, but things that were with me my entire life, as far back as I can remember, even when I was a small child. And it had to do with a weak immune system. That wasn't really what motivated me, but it was a side benefit because when I finally figured out what the problem was, what the cause of the problem was, mm-hmm. I was able to correct it. Basically, I changed my nutrition. I stopped eating sugar. I stopped drinking milk, and it completely transformed my life. All of a sudden, I just never got sick anymore.
There are a lot of people that have allergies to dairy products or wheat, and they don't always understand it or know it. They just feel like it might be a seasonal allergy that is causing the problem. Has that been something that you've noticed in your practice?
Constantly, Rod, constantly. The thing is, commercial dairy products are simply not healthy. People are told from the time they're children to drink your milk. Mm-hmm. And commercial dairy products are unhealthy in so many different ways. It's not a good idea. I have 6 kids, and I raised them without dairy. We didn't eat sugar, and we didn't drink milk, and they were always healthy, and to this day, they are very healthy adults. But in my practice, I see it a lot. The gluten intolerance is very, very common, mm-hmm. more common than a lot of people understand. And once people make the changes that they need to make in their nutrition, it's amazing what happens with their health.
Wow. That's really very profound, because there's so much shared knowledge on the web and social media right now on what we should do and what we should not do to stay healthy. And it seems to change a lot. Like one minute it's okay to eat carbs, next minute it's not. And it's so confusing because there's always conflicting advice out there. How have you managed to sift through all of that and get down to the practical aspects of keeping you and your family healthy as well as your patients?
Well, that's a really good question. And it kind of assumes that I've made all the right decisions and my opinions are always correct. But I will say that I've always tried to avoid the fads, the latest flavor mm-hmm. of the month diet. And I've watched things go from one extreme to another during the
Right.
course of my career. And when in reality, it's kind of somewhere in the middle. Not all carbs are bad.
Mm-hmm.
Simple carbohydrates, yeah, they need to be avoided. Sugar simply needs to be avoided. And I'm not talking about fruit. Fruit is healthy if it's eaten, but not. I don't recommend drinking your fruits. No fruit juices, no fruit smoothies. But
Right.
the point is that it's kind of a balance, and then one size doesn't fit all. There are some people who need more protein than others, and so on and so forth. But a lot of times you have to just apply some common sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when people say, because you'll see all over the internet now that coffee is healthy, one of the healthiest things you can put in your body.
Right.
Okay, stop and apply some common sense, because coffee has also been on a pendulum where it goes to from one extreme to the other. Apply some common sense and ask yourself, do you really think that an addictive substance is ever going to be healthy? And it's a simple matter of trying to, as you say, sift through all of the nonsense and get down to the core issues, and a lot of that just is a matter of common sense.
Okay.
A lot of people have embraced the low-carb diet, and I actually read an article recently about how we do need sugar in our diet, but the sugar they're referring to is a balance of protein and carbs, but the kind of sugar you would get, let's say, from eating a baked potato or eating a potato or a yam or something like that, and like you just suggested, eating fruit, but don't drink it. Eat the whole fruit because you get the fiber. And a lot of those carbs that have fiber are also known to be sugar carbs, but those are the ones that are really, really good for you. I think you and I talked about this a while back about people that walk into a convenience store and walk out of there with a big gulp, which is loaded with sugar, and then they also have snack foods, which are loaded with sugar, and I guess you would call it phony carbs. But this low-carb craze, I know my sister and other family members, I mean, they went on it and they lost weight. I mean, you can't
you
argue.
definitely lose weight.
You definitely lose weight. What's the deal with that, Craig?
Well, when you can attribute it to eating no carbs at all. I'm referring to the weight loss, or you can attribute it to the fact that they stopped eating the sugars and the pastries and things like that. Stopped drinking their soda pop and all those things that were causing their weight gain.
Right.
And perhaps if they had just done a sensible diet and eliminated the simple carbs, eliminated the sugar and the pastries and the different things that we all know cause weight gain,
right.
And still eaten some of the healthy carbs, perhaps they would have lost the same amount of weight and kept it off.
That's interesting.
Well, that makes sense, though. If you follow a diet that's healthy, and then you're going to cut out all the miscellaneous things that you're not supposed to eat, you probably will lose weight.
Yeah, stop eating donuts and you will lose some weight.
Right, so true.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts about vitamins that you buy from the store? Give us what's good, what's not. What's your take on that, Craig?
First of all, you have to understand that a great many of the vitamin products, the nutritional supplements on the market, are junk. They're very, very inferior in quality. Mm-hmm. They're the cheapest ingredients, the most poorly assimilated ingredients. And but I do believe in supplementation because our modern diet is so woefully deficient in nutrients. But people will go to a pharmacy or a grocery store or a big box store and buy their supplements, and they're not getting good quality. In many cases, it's the most inferior quality that you can find. So, you have to educate yourselves a little bit on that. Well, there are some things that I recommend that people do when they're looking at the label. of their vitamin, because you should always look at the label.
Okay.
But most people will look at the label and they don't really know the difference between quality ingredients and poor quality. But if you look at these three things, first of all, look at the magnesium. If it has magnesium oxide, then there's no reason to believe that any of the other ingredients in that product are of superior quality, because magnesium oxide is the cheapest, most poorly assimilated form of magnesium. Look at the vitamin E. If it has DL alpha, the L is the tip-off, the DL alpha form of vitamin E, then that's a synthetic form. And again, there's no reason to think they would put that in that product and then use better quality ingredients, or better quality for the other ingredients, than the calcium. Now, I'm not a form of calcium supplementation at all. That whole thing is a myth, and that's a subject for another day, but and it can be very harmful. But if it's calcium carbonate, then, calcium carbonate is chalk. It's very, very inexpensive. It's very, very poorly assimilated. So it's another tip-off that the product is not a good one.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know, because I think a lot of people don't know that some of these other forms are not really the best for you, and they're kind of cheap, and they just look like they do something.
Well, also, it just passes through your body. It's not actually doing any good for the most part.
If you're lucky. If you're lucky, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there are good nutritional supplements out there. You have to find a company that you trust. A lot of times people will get involved with a multi-level marketing company, and they'll bring their products in for me to evaluate. And sometimes they're good, but more often than not, they're kind of mediocre, and sometimes they're very inferior. But they're being told by the company that these are the best, and of course they're more expensive because you've got the downline. Everybody has to take the cut.
Sure.
Which is okay. I understand that concept, but if you can go to a health food store and for a lot less money get a better product, then why would you buy those?
No, that makes sense.
And in the multi-level marketing industry, vitamins are a big deal. I mean, there are a lot of companies that offer those with a lot of promise. Because both Angie and I, and you're kind of aware of this, Craig, both of us been involved in marketing nutritional companies, and our families, my family especially, but Angie's too, have always asked us if there was one vitamin that they should take, one supplement they should take. They ask us, what would you do? Because, they don't want to have 50 different vitamins in their pantry. And then also it's like the flavor of the month because of advertising. Well, you should be taking this because it does this. I've always recommended that people take liquid minerals. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm a huge fan of that. We're all deficient in trace minerals, and so taking a good multi-mineral supplement is important. But a lot of the products, if you get them in a capsule, they're going to be a formulated product in which they've placed a certain amount of multiple different minerals, including calcium. Whereas if you get a liquid mineral product, it's going to have, hopefully, it's going to have fulvic acid and some humic acid, and then the minerals in there are going to be in a balance that's found in nature, and they're also the forms of the minerals that our bodies can assimilate. So I'm a big fan of that concept.
Okay, well, we're in good shape because that's what we do.
That's good advice. Yeah, because we've checked for that. So really good advice. Let's see. I have to ask you this question, Craig, because I know this has been on everyone's mind for the last couple of years. What kind of nutritional regime should people follow to help boost their immune system?
Well, yes, that is a really good question, because we've seen a lot of so-called experts talking about the pandemic and COVID-19 and all the precautions that they recommended that people take, and no one ever mentioned anything that builds up the immune system, because a lot of people have gone through this entire pandemic. I'm one of them, never having gotten the infection.
Right,
and it has to do with the immune system. So that's really the key there. Not just to avoiding infectious diseases. Our immune systems protect us from cancer and every other disease that can happen to the body. And we see so many people getting those autoimmune diseases and cancer and diabetes and heart disease, and we need a strong, healthy immune system. So, of course, everyone knows that taking the correct form, adequate amounts of the correct form of vitamin D is important. One of the things I always recommend when I talk about vitamin D, first of all, it has to be vitamin D3. Mm-hmm. And then I don't recommend that anyone take vitamin D without also taking vitamin K2, 7. Vitamin K2, 7 is crucial. Vitamin D can actually do harm unless it's taken along with vitamin K. And vitamin K has multiple benefits like other nutrients. But the vitamin D will help strengthen the immune system. We all know that vitamin C is beneficial. The problem with vitamin C supplements is that most of them are poorly assimilated. Mm-hmm. We can't cost effectively extract vitamin C from natural sources, so it's all synthetic. All the supplements are synthetic. Uh-huh. And assimilation can be poor. In fact, taking vitamin C can cause, in many cases, the individual to lose vitamin C from their body. That's what happens to me when I take vitamin C supplements. After a while, my gums start to bleed. And it's a sign of vitamin C deficiency. And it took me a while to figure that out. So I recommend camu, mm-hmm. which is a fruit from the South American rainforest. It contains the highest content of vitamin C of any known food, up to 60 times as much as an orange. And it comes with all the cofactors. Of course, it's natural vitamin C. It comes with all the cofactors that assist in assimilation, and those cofactors have their own benefits. And you just take it in powder form, and you don't have to take thousands of milligrams a day like so many people do with mm-hmm. regular vitamin C supplements. Mm-hmm. And then there's NAC, which also has multiple benefits, but one of the things it does is help strengthen the immune system. There are a lot of herbs and nutrients that work on the immune system.
Okay, cool.
And I never make nutritional recommendations without recommending magnesium, but again, it has to be the right form of magnesium, not just something that you picked up at a big box store or a local pharmacy.
Sure. Now, does the camu, is that acidic like the other, vitamin C supplements you take, where it's really hard on your stomach and it's so hard to take?
No. It is a fruit. It's not very acidic. It doesn't taste very good. I mean, obviously, mm-hmm. an orange would taste better.
Right.
And I do want to mention that so many people think that drinking orange juice is going to give them the vitamin C. If you're drinking commercially prepared orange juice you buy in a grocery store, right. It's been processed and there's very little vitamin C left in it. And drinking fruit juice is about the same as drinking a soda in terms of what the sugar does to your body. It will contribute to the same problems, including diabetes, as drinking a soda. That's why I tell people, eat your fruits, don't drink them. But don't think that you can drink a glass of orange juice in the morning and get the vitamin C that you need. But no, I've not known of any cases where camu causes a stomach upset.
Oh, that's good to know, because I feel that, when you take a vitamin C, it's been very irritating. So I have a hard time. I have to just eat, fruits that have it or vegetables that have vitamin C. I have a hard time taking vitamin C.
And there's a lot of actual vegetables that have vitamin C in it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So, well, and really that's the concept. as much as we possibly can, we need to get our nutrients from our foods. But we all know that nowadays our foods don't contain the nutrient density that they once did.
True. Very true.
I'm going to change the subject just a little bit. There's an old adage regarding doctors giving his family advice, a doctor giving his family advice. What is that adage? I think you know what it is. And has that been applicable to you in your own family life?
Well, the adage is the doctor who treats his or her family has fools for patients. And yes, absolutely. It has been applicable. They say a prophet is not without honor except in his own country. And I have seen that with my wife. I try not to try to be her doctor because it never worked. It simply has never worked.
It's no
hard,
different.
Though. It's really hard.
Yeah, but I notice even in my own family, if I make a suggestion that, well, this might be helpful, I'll go to Costco. That's about as far as it goes sometimes. No. And, you can't be.
You got to let people come to their own conclusion.
Yeah, do their own research
and feel comfortable with it. I think sometimes.
I think one big takeaway from this episode is you're learning a lot. We're learning a lot here, but it's important for you to do your own research. You should.
And what's right for you?
Yeah,
It's not always right. It's not all across the board from what I'm getting from you, Craig.
Well, yeah, and see, I always tell people, you have to take responsibility for your health. Your doctor cannot be responsible for your health. It doesn't work, never has. It has to be you, and it requires knowledge. And sometimes it's a bit daunting for people, but, with the right guidance, everyone can learn what they need to learn.
What I think is really sad, and I've had people say this to me, they're dealing with some sort of health condition, and I say, well, if you change your diet or you might try this, it might improve that. And they'll say, oh, no, I'll just let my doctor worry about it. And that's kind of a mistake, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good
Well,
idea.
it is. It doesn't work. Conventional medicine, and I want to say right now that I'm not an enemy of conventional medicine. I'm glad that we have the things that we have, the technology, and I'm glad that we have doctors who can prescribe medications when we need them and who can perform surgeries when they're needed. But it is a system of dealing primarily with symptoms. They don't study nutrition, and nutrition is the number one most important subject in regards to human health. So when it comes to actual health and disease prevention, you have to do it yourself. You're really not going to get that from the medical community.
So true. And also don't expect a doctor, after years of abuse to your body, to miraculously cure you of whatever you have made yourself. Like, you have to work in concert. If you've been trying to, keep a healthy lifestyle as best as you can, and unfortunately, we all have genetic defects where you're going to be more susceptible to something. It gives them a better chance and ammunition to really get in there and do some heavy lifting for you when you really need it. But if you're just completely not doing anything, I feel like that's a lot to ask for. You can't.
It's really
expect a miracle.
It's really applicable with people that have cancer.
Yeah.
Because they'll tell you, you're in good health. We can help you. And if you're in terrible health, often they just say this is going to be tough.
Sometimes you can't even take the treatment at that point because you're so weak.
Right. Well, just look at diabetes, for example.
Yeah.
Your doctor can diagnose it and can prescribe medications to hopefully keep your blood sugar under control. However, you can prevent diabetes. We know what are the things that cause diabetes. When people talk about genetic predispositions, that's not a sentence. That's not a sentence that says that you are going to have whatever disease you're predisposed to. What it is a recommendation that you need to take extra care, extra precautions to avoid it. So if you don't want to get diabetes, then avoid sugar, avoid getting obese, exercise, do the things that prevent diabetes. And of course, the number one most important thing in that regard is avoidance of sugar. But I hasten to mention that there are other factors. So you can either prevent the diabetes, or then you can it can be treated symptomatically after you have it, which is best.
Yeah.
And then that applies to all other degenerative diseases as well. Cancer and heart disease and all the rest.
That makes a lot of sense. I also wanted to ask you about, since our show is about creativity and creative people, and I know creative people have a lot of demands on them emotionally. Is there a nutritional regime that can help reduce stress and anxiety and maybe lift the mood a little? Is there something you can do nutritionally for that?
Absolutely. The thing is, in the natural realm, we deal with the whole human being, because there's no way to separate the emotional, mental, and physical selves. We're all one being, and the same things that affect us physically will affect us mentally and emotionally. So if you want to maintain yourself in peak condition mentally, then keep yourself in peak condition physically. Do the same things. Exercise and good nutrition are crucial for that. Avoid sugar, avoid caffeine. People think that caffeine, they're going to use caffeine to stimulate their mental processes. That's like using your debit card. Sooner or later the account runs dry. There's always a payback for that.
Well, we're going to we're going to ask you some questions about caffeine in a minute, but while we're on this topic, being creative has everything to do with our cognitive health. What can people do to improve their cognitive health, their ability to think and remember?
Okay. The things I just mentioned apply here. And avoidance of the things that cause physical problems also cause cognitive issues. And I won't bring them up again because I've discussed them a number of times already.
Right.
But there are certain things like magnesium L-threonate. I'll repeat that. Magnesium, capital L-Threonate. It's the only form of magnesium that crosses the blood-brain barrier. And there's been a lot of research done on magnesium L-threonate. It's kind of a newcomer on the magnesium scene, but the research is ongoing. But a lot of researchers are claiming that it can prevent dementia, that it can even help improve cognitive function in people who have dementia. So because magnesium is so important for everyone, it is the master mineral. It is required for almost all the processes that take place in the human body. Over 600 different processes that we know of require magnesium. It's also important for optimum brain function. So I do recommend taking the magnesium L-threonate for people who are creative and who feel like they need to have their brains or their cognitive function in tip-top condition. Keeping the blood sugar levels, optimizing blood sugar levels is crucial in those cases because, well, in with all of us, crucial for good physical and mental health. So then we get back to the sugar and caffeine, avoiding those things. And getting plenty of exercise. The brain needs oxygen, just like every other cell in the body needs oxygen. So, plenty of exercise and laughter for the endorphins. The beneficial effects of laughter and just good recreation. If you have a balanced life, and it's not just all work. And I sometimes tell people who are complaining of stress, and they have insomnia, that whole scenario. I ask them, do you watch the news at night before you go to bed? How much time do you spend on YouTube looking at? And there are a lot of positive things on YouTube, but there are a lot of negative things, and things are kind of bad in our world, and the political system is chaotic, and there are a lot of things to worry about. But most of those things you're not going to be able to fix. So put some positive things in your life. Sometimes I'll come home, sit down with my wife, and I'll turn on YouTube and do a search, feel-good videos, and we'll watch these feel-good videos. And some are kind of corny, but some of them are really sweet. Some of them just sit there and they'll bring tears to your eyes. And then we go to bed on that.
That's great. Yeah. That's excellent advice. And we get bombarded with negativity so much that it's hard for us to refocus on the good things that we have in life. And, it's always important to be thankful for the good things that we have in our lives, because we all have some things to be thankful for. And to focus on that gives you a better night's sleep, if nothing else. We've talked to that's really good advice, Craig. We really appreciate you sharing it and putting that perspective on it about how you and your family feed yourself as much positivity as you can and try to stay away from the negative stuff, because there's no shortage of it out there, as we all know. But there is a lot of good positive things happening in this world. And you're sharing some really excellent positive things that can help benefit people to just stay healthier. And if you're healthy, you feel good, it's better for you all the way around. We've talked a lot about sugar, and I also believe sugar increases inflammation, and inflammation can be a tough thing on anybody's body. But is there alternatives to sugar?
Yeah. There are, actually. Stevia is a good alternative. There are a lot of products with stevia. I caution people against the chemical sweeteners. Those are not healthy. That's cancer food. Avoid the chemical sweeteners. And people will say, well, I don't drink soda with sugar. I drink diet soda. That's even worse. And the reasons why people drink, there are two reasons that I know of that people will drink diet soda or eat diet foods, quote, diet foods with the chemical sweeteners, is one, to avoid weight gain, and the second is to avoid diabetes, which is caused by sugar. The problem is, in all the studies that have been conducted, it's been shown that the diet soda and other diet products cause more obesity and more diabetes, more insulin resistance, which is the basis of type 2 diabetes, than the stuff with sugar. And I'm an enemy of the stuff with sugar. So I caution people against the chemical sweeteners, sugar substitutes. But stevia, there's also monk fruit or lo hang guo, which are healthy sweeteners. And, they're getting to be more and more foods. You can find them mostly in health food stores that are sweetened with those things. And so you can avoid the sugar in that way.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. The thing is that I know that people get very addicted to drinking certain kind of diet sodas, and they really have to wean themselves off of it because it becomes such a habit. So I guess don't do it. Don't get started. If you are, replace it with water or a flavored, like I like to do what do you call that? A mineral water with just a splash of cranberry or something in it, like very little, but just enough to just make it taste fun and, exciting, I guess.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, soda's big one that you should definitely try to avoid. Yeah. I want to mention to our listeners that you are the author of 13 books. They're available on Amazon, and some of them have been bestsellers, maybe most of them actually. And those books are not related to nutrition. They're fiction, I guess, and nonfiction. But do you ever write about the topic of nutrition and health? I think you've done articles on it.
I've done a lot of articles. Actually, I've written 2 books that are on they're nonfiction, that are on health topics. The fiction books that I've written rather, are on Amazon. There are 11 of those actually. So the other 2 are the nonfiction. One is about liver health, and the other is about pain control, natural pain control.
Great.
Those are very popular subject, especially the pain control. I think a lot of people have to deal with pain sometime or another in their lives.
Yeah, chronic pain seems to be an issue, but a lot of times, I guess, as Craig would say, some of that goes back to how you managed your health and nutrition.
That is true. That is very true.
Yes. Well, Rod, a few minutes ago you mentioned inflammation, and I haven't brought that subject up today, but it is a very, very important subject, because chronic inflammation can cause everything, and in terms of disease. And there's so many people walking around with chronic generalized inflammation. Sometimes, a lot of times, I find myself sitting across from patients who are far younger than I am, and they have all these aches and pains that I don't have. And I say that to them. And I tell them, I know what your problem is. It's that your body is inflamed, and something has to be done about it. It's not just aches and pains, diagnosed diseases as well. A lot of times they're taking a lot of medications. And so I help them get to the bottom of the inflammation. And, it goes back in so many cases to sugar and caffeine. Mm-hmm. But, there are other factors as well. But I just wanted to bring that up because inflammation is one of the things that has to be addressed.
Well, isn't it true that inflammation affects all your body functions? I mean, your heart, your lungs, your liver.
It's just not being achy. It affects everything, really.
Everything. Your glands, your brain, if you talk about creativity. Mm-hmm. Yes, it affects everything.
So real quickly, Craig, what would be the one thing that you would recommend to reduce people's overall inflammation?
If there is one thing, one single factor that I can recommend, it would be eliminate sugar from your life.
Okay. That's fair enough.
That
and
makes
actually,
sense.
That's not too difficult to do.
No, just
if you
watch what
do
you're
it.
doing. Yeah, just watch what you're doing.
Well, sugar is an addictive drug. A lot of people don't know that, but it is an addictive drug. It's a non-food. It's not nutritive. Mm-hmm. But because it's in so many foods and it's sold in grocery stores and it's everywhere, people see it as a food product. But it is an addictive drug. It is very harmful. And because it is addictive, it can be difficult. Now, you and Angie are not sugar people. But people who are find it at times very difficult to get off sugar. And there are things that can help with that. But in the final analysis, you kind of have to just do it.
So true. So true.
Cut the head off the snake.
You just have to say, nope, not going there anymore. But there are alternatives when you're eating fruits and natural things like that. All of a sudden, you didn't realize how great they tasted and how wonderful they made you feel because you were so addicted to eating things that are, a cake or cookies that come from a package that are easy. But fruit is just as easy. You rinse it off and you eat it.
And I said this to you. I bit into a cherry or a plum, and I said, gosh, this tastes 1,000 times better than a candy bar.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, it's amazing the incredible sensation that you get on your tongue from eating cherries.
Yeah, the flavors.
It's not like, no offense, Mars candy bars, but there's no comparison, just no comparison.
So true. So true.
Yeah, I agree. But to a sugar addict, their mileage may differ.
So true.
Well,
I wanted to, I know we talked about this a little bit earlier and we didn't get to talk about it as much as I think we should, and that is that you had started a TikTok channel, and that is so people can get daily advice from you, and I want to make sure that people know the name of your channel so that way they can go to it and get even more advice if they would like to.
On an almost daily basis.
Yes.
And I've listened to some of your TikTok episodes, and I've learned stuff.
Yeah, it's Dr. C. Curtis.
Dr. C. Curtis, as in Craig Curtis.
So they put the DR period? I mean, TikTok can be a little tricky with names. So how exactly do they put it?
I don't think there is a period. I think it's just DRC Curtis.
Okay.
And DRC Curtis.
DRC Curtis. Okay, perfect. That way everyone can subscribe to it and then see your advice, your thoughts, and your
get your daily
insights.
dose.
Yeah, get your daily dose of Dr. Craig Curtis.
Craig, what would be your single most important advice that you would give to help people keep their physical and emotional energy at peak no matter what their age?
Single most important thing to keep the energy at peak, well, it would have to do with the adrenals. So many people are walking around with depleted, exhausted adrenal glands, and it's not something that is commonly diagnosed or even looked at. In the natural realm, we deal with it a lot because the adrenal glands are so crucial for our health. They produce different hormones that have to do with a lot of the function of the human body, but they have to do a great deal with their energy levels. And of course, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but sugar and caffeine are the biggest enemies of the adrenal glands.
Okay. We're going to run out of time, and I want to ask you one quick question because Angie's had this question. She's been searching this herself. Real quickly, what's the deal with taking collagen powder?
Well, collagen is going to help strengthen and maintain the integrity of connective tissue, and connective tissue is what holds us together. It's what's found in the cartilage and tendons and ligaments in our joints, and all over the body. So it's important. And I would see, what I recommend is take a good collagen supplement with type 1 and type 3 collagen and camu, because the vitamin C in camu, vitamin C in general is responsible for maintaining the and producing collagen in the body. So if you take a collagen supplement and then you're taking the camu, the vitamin C along with the different cofactors in there are going to help with all the connective tissues in your body and help them to be strengthened and for their integrity to be maintained.
Okay, perfect.
That's so good to know.
Answer.
See?
Okay, so Angie, you're our most famous question of all time.
Before we end our episode, we always ask all of our guests, if you could sit on a park bench and chat with anyone from the past, who would it be, Craig?
Anyone from the past.
Anyone from the past.
Well, I'm going to separate this into two realms, and I'm going to set the religious realm aside.
Okay.
And say just the historical realm. There's so many, but the one that comes to mind right now is Joshua Chamberlain, one of the generals, Union generals in the Civil War, who distinguished himself in a number of battles, particularly in the Battle of Gettysburg.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Wow.
That's a great answer.
He was quite a guy.
We've never had an answer along those lines.
No, definitely not.
Well, unfortunately, we have run out of time, and we're going to have you back because you shared so much information that virtually
love to.
all of us could use. And this has been a relatively brief talk. And you shared so much valuable information. Both Inge and I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and advice. And I have to say, a lot of that could apply to ourselves. So good stuff, Craig.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Craig, for being with us today and sharing your advice on how we can stay healthy, and especially for creative people. And now it's time for me to let everyone know, if you'd like to know more about Dr. Craig Curtis, we will have links for him under the Show Guest tab on ThoughtRow.com, so everyone can learn more about him. And please connect with him on TikTok. And he has a Facebook page and also on LinkedIn. So thank you so much, Craig.
Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
That was a great conversation and a really great guest.
I want to remind everyone that we are on Amazon Music.
Yes, and that's where a lot of our listeners happen to be.
If you have Alexa or Echo devices, it makes it really easy and a hands-free way to listen.
And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
So it's bye for now from my husband Rod and I, wishing everyone a great day.